Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books in horror. And today I'm here to talk to you about all of the books that I managed to read in the month of July.
It's coffee time!
So July was actually quite a good month, and it did help me that I had some short books, and also I did listen to a couple of audiobooks when I went on my walks, which is something that hopefully I can keep doing because I do love to have a good audiobook when I'm walking for a long period of time. I think those times I can really focus on the audiobook. So today I am here to let you know what I thought about the books, give you my rating. If you're new here, hi, we love to rate our books with coffee mugs, and I also love to start with the lowest rating so that we always end up at the end on a positive note. Sleepaway Camp by Mavis Sybil, and this is a middle grade horror novella. I picked this one up obviously because it's a horror novella and it is middle grade, which there's not many novellas are middle grade, and this is also one that has a cool cover, takes place on a summer camp, and you know, I thought let's give it a shot. So we have four friends that are at a summer camp and they decide to sneak out at night and go explore the woods, which, you know, it's cute, we love it, but there's something else outside with them in the woods. And honestly, for this story, I really loved the story, the concept, you know, the characters, and I feel like the woods made it really atmospheric. We have this group of friends that go out and explore the woods in the middle of the night. So I was really on board with all of that, and I really did enjoy the origin of the evil in the story and how the ending was. I really did enjoy that. But I was struggling because the characters didn't feel like they were real, the way that they were talking, the way that they were written. It was just not realistic to me. And even though, of course, I expected to have some horror tropes in the story because we are in a summer camp, you know, with kids, this is your typical story, but the way the tropes were introduced, they were so forced that I just did not enjoy it. I thought it was a little bit more brutal, to be honest, than other middle grades. So, you know, it might be a bit intense for a lot of kids, but it might work for some people. It just didn't work for me. Now let's talk about The Launch Party by Lauren Forey. As you guys know, I was really excited about this kind of locked room mystery thriller, and I have to inform you guys that I was unfortunately disappointed. I was really excited because we have 10 strangers that have been selected to participate in a once-in-a-lifetime experience. They're going to be the first humans to go to the moon, to the first luxury hotel that has been built in the surface of the moon. And I was so excited, and then at least when I had already made it halfway through, I knew I was done with the book. The 10 guests that we have are really excited and nervous to go to this hotel on the moon, but they're also really excited for all the activities and everything that they can do there. And the problem starts when they arrive to the hotel and they want to check in, but there is literally no staff there. They realize they have been left alone in a hotel on the moon, and they decide, you know, let's make the best out of it until they come back to pick us up, because obviously they're gonna realize they just left us here unattended. But instead of people coming back to rescue them, what happens the next morning is that one of the 10 has been murdered. Obviously, one of the 10 guests is a detective, which is very handy when you have a murder that you have to solve. And, you know, I thought this was gonna be fun, but it kind of started declining for me, like I said, on the halfway mark. The book is basically a constant investigation, so the author is trying to create suspicion. The author is trying to make you doubt every single one of the characters. However, all of these characters started to blend in so much that I didn't know anymore who was who, and the names didn't mean anything to me except maybe 3 that were the ones that were more mentioned. Those I could kind of remember things from them, but the other ones I completely forgotten who they were and their backgrounds. I I also would like to mention that there is a character in the book that I am going to assume that they wanted that character to be specifically racist, but I was not having fun with it. There is a lot of racist remarks made by that character, and I don't know if they were there for shock value, to provoke, or whatever it was, or just because this character, specific character, was from Germany, which, anyway, I was not having it. And that really bothered me throughout the whole book. Because the thing is that it was not needed, it was not something that added to the story or to the mystery, so it was not necessary. So I was like, why is this even happening? But anyways, moving from there, also I don't think they exploited the fact that the hotel was on the moon enough. There is not much that you get to see of the moon, and this could have basically been a mystery thriller, like a murder mystery thriller based on a cruise on a hotel somewhere else on Earth. It didn't have to be on the moon, really. So unfortunately, I did not enjoy this, and I'm going to be passing on my copy to someone else because I'm not gonna keep it. Next we have You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kailyn Bayron, and this is another one that I had highly anticipated. It is a YA book that was pitched as a slasher on a summer camp, so obviously I needed to check it out. We are in Camp Mirror Lake, and every year there is a group of teenagers that put up a horror experience. It's kind of almost like an escape room, but in a summer camp. You basically go there as a participant, as a guest, and they put up kind of like a play. Someone's the killer, others are the counselors in this camp, and you as the guest, as the participant, you need to try to survive the night. Charity has been part of this game for many years, and her part on this game is to play the role of the final girl. However, this year, right before the final show, things are gonna go south very quickly. A couple of the teenagers that are part of the crew disappear. Nobody knows why they left. Did they just quit their job, or did something take them? The things that I really enjoyed about this book is that the tension was built slowly, and the book was really atmospheric. I think the summer camp setting was done really well. I also really enjoyed to see the characters' love for horror movies. That is something that as a horror lover always enjoy to see. However, I went into the book with false expectations. I think everybody pitched the book as a slasher, and it is not truly a slasher. So if you're going for a purely slasher book, you might get disappointed as well. The book kind of, in my opinion, belongs to a different subgenre of horror that I'm not going to mention because that might be a spoiler. I do have a more in-depth review of the book on my channel without spoilers if you want to just hear a little bit more about it. There were many great elements in the book, and I did love all the violent moments and the gore in the book, but I just wish they would have pushed the idea that they had a little bit further. The book felt like in the first half like one thing, and in the second half it turned into a completely different thing. But to be fair, I think it's gonna be a fun read for a lot of people, a good horror read for summer. Maybe it was just not exactly what I was expecting, and due to my expectations on the book, I didn't end up loving it as much as I had hoped. Moving on to Party Summer by Erlstein. This is part of the Fear Street books. So if you read any of those books, you kind of know what to expect already. This is a group of friends that are very excited about this summer because they have accepted a job at a hotel by the beach. And they're hoping, you know, apart from working there and getting some extra money this summer, they're gonna be able to party at the beach every single night. So when they get there to the hotel where they're supposed to be working all summer, they realize that the island where the hotel is very empty. No guests, no nobody. So basically they are the only ones there. They decide to stay in the hotel anyways and try to make the best out of the situation. But soon they will realize that this place seems to be haunted. I appreciated that this book was not based on Shadyside or the Fear Street, and it took us somewhere different. This book almost felt like one of those Haunted Mansions books. It didn't feel as much as a Fear Street book though, so I don't know if that is something that has to do with the fact that it was not taking place in Shadyside. This book was not as scary as I had hoped, and it was more about kind of solving a mystery that for a lot of people might have been too obvious from the beginning, like for me, because, you know, I read a lot of mystery horror thrillers, and yeah, I think you might be able to see the twist coming as I did. But this was a fun read for summer. And yeah, if you have read Fear Street books, you probably know what to expect. I always feel like I enjoy these books and I have a really good time with them because they are a quick, fast-paced read for me, but they have not aged well always. And I never see one that I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a 5 stars for me. So I don't know if it will ever happen, but so far these are just quick, fun reads for me. And I don't know, let me know which is your favorite Fear Street book that you would say that one is like a 5 star for sure, because I have to check it out. Next we have Camp Murderface by Josh Burke and Sandra Mitchell, and this is a middle grade horror book, also taking place in a summer camp. That has been kind of my theme this summer, apparently. Didn't do it on purpose, but apparently that has been my theme. And here we follow 2 kids, Corinne and Tess. They have been sent to the same summer camp, and when they get there, obviously, as you can expect, weird things are gonna start to happen. The camp is called Camp Sweetwater, but the counselors there are anything but sweet. They're quite rude, and they even give nicknames to all the kids instead of calling them by their names, which is something that bothered me in the book, and it's one of the things that made me, you know, not enjoy it as much, because I didn't like that they were almost bullying the kids, these counselors. Instead of calling them by their names, they were giving them nicknames based on the way they looked and stuff like that, and I did not enjoy that part. So apart from rude counselors, this camp is not looking really good. Some of the cabins are closed, they're full of spiders, there's a lot of activities that are not taking place yet. There's something really weird in this place. So obviously our main characters, Corinne and Tess, are going to, you know, befriend each other. They're going to become friends in the camp, and they're going to try to solve a mystery in the camp. Some sort of visions that they're having. Is this ghost? Did something happen in this camp? It's that kind of supernatural horror. And I did end up enjoying the book. I feel like towards the ending, I ended up loving it more. At the end of the day, I think it's a fun summer read. It might have not worked so well for me, because even though this book is being told from 2 different perspectives, from Corinne's perspective and Tess' perspective, I felt like they both blended in together, and I almost could not tell the kids apart. They felt like the same person to me. But I did enjoy them working together, solving the mystery, and there's also humor in the book, which didn't work for me, but might work for other people. So at the end of the day, I think this might be a fun summer read for middle grade readers, but it just didn't work for me as well as I had hoped. And then I read Camp Murderface, Doom in the Deep, which is book 2. And these 2 books both take place in the same summer camp, in the same summer, in the same year. So basically, this takes place right after book 1. Our main characters have already solved 1 mystery, and in book 2 they're gonna have new evils to face. In book 2, the counselors are replaced by new counselors, and they look really odd and creepy. Something seems to be off with them, and also something seems to be really off in the lake, in the water. Something's in the water, so our main characters are gonna have to solve a new brand mystery. I feel like in the second book, the characters were finding their own voices a lot more, so it was easier for me to tell them apart. And I also felt like the humor was not so forced, and it was much better. So I did enjoy book 2 more than book 1. I do have a reading vlog reading these books. If you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts as I was reading the books, you can check that one out. Then I listened to the audiobook of A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and I was really curious when this book came out, because the book is about a girl whose father was accused of being a serial killer and was imprisoned and is serving a life sentence. You guys know that I love stories about serial killers and true crime stories, so I was really intrigued about this mystery thriller. So 20 years later, Chloe is trying to move on with her life, even though she still has a lot of trauma from her childhood and what happened. But now someone is starting to kill girls again. Is it a copycat killer? What is going on? Is her father really guilty? Is he not? So this is bringing up a lot of questions. It's an interesting take on the serial killer trope, and it focuses a lot on how these things affect families, how it changes relationships, also on the family members, because after what happened, Chloe is struggling to have relationships with other human beings, even with her own brother, with, you know, boyfriends. She really struggles trusting people. Now that girls are disappearing again, she is determined to find out what's going on and who is behind these new killings. I found Chloe really interesting as a character because she is kind of working through her own trauma, and she's also kind of learning more about her past, her family, what happened to the girls. Even though I did see some of the twists and turns coming, I think this is a really good, solid mystery thriller, and I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it. For being a debut novel, it was really good, and I was really addicted to it. I think if I would have had it in physical form, I might have binged it. I think the beginning might have been a little bit slow, but once it catches up, it's really engaging. So if you were considering picking it up, I can tell you I did enjoy it. Then we have The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I was really excited to try this one because Woman in Cabin 10 was not as good as I had hoped, so I wanted to give the author another chance, and I knew that this one was a different interpretation on the classic story The Turn of the Screw, so I wanted to give it a chance, and I also listened to the audiobook for this. Rowan is not happy in her job and she wants a change, and one day she sees an ad on the paper, and it's a wealthy family that is looking for an in-house nanny to take care of their children, and the job is paid really well. It sounds too good to be true, which you know the saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But she decides to go to the interview. She has experience with children, so the family really likes her, and they desperately need someone to start like right now, so they end up hiring Rowan, and she moves in a couple of days later. The moment she moves in, the parents have to leave for work, and they already leave her alone with the children in this huge ass mansion. And the house is also connected through a lot of technology. There is like these panels to turn on lights, off. There's a lot of cameras. Like, it is a kind of high-tech mansion, even though it is an older place. Rowan starts to feel really uneasy in this place. She starts to hear things, and it gets quite creepy. I really enjoyed the story here. Everything is told from Rowan's point of view through a huge letter that starts from beginning to end. The whole book is basically a letter that she writes to someone. I just don't want to, I want to keep it mysterious. I don't want to give too much away of the story, but I thought it was a really interesting interpretation of that classic, story of The Turn of the Screw. For me, it was maybe a little bit too slow, but I think that having the audiobook really helped me. I don't know if I would have really enjoyed it as much in physical form, but having the audiobook, which was really good, really helped me to be more invested, even though it was slow paced. There are some really interesting reveals that might shock some people. For me, they were not so shocking, to be honest, so they didn't work as well for me, but I think this is a really good and solid thriller, and I'm still gonna give Ruth Ware another chance. Next we have Burn the Negative by Josh Winning, and the moment this book appeared at my door, I knew I had to sit down and start reading. It is a book about a cursed movie from the 90s called The Guest House. Everybody that was involved in that horror movie either died or ended up behind bars, and now they are doing a remake. They are turning it into a TV show. Laura was a kid actor in the 90s, and one of her biggest roles was actually in the movie The Guest House. Now, 30 years later, Laura is a journalist, and she has been hired to go and, have some interviews with the new director and cast from this reboot, and she's really scared to revisit her childhood trauma, to revisit LA, and that life that she left behind. So when she gets there, she realizes that the new crew, the new people involved with the TV show, are also dying in mysterious circumstances. This was such a fun homage to horror slashers, and also combined that with childhood trauma and what it means to be a child actor. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with this one if you love horror with a little bit like a spark of humor here and there, and also horror that is fun. You can tell that the author loves horror, and there are a lot of references to other horror movies. There is many creepy moments, a lot of atmospheric moments, especially in the film set. And I would say, you know, give it a chance. I thought the chapters were short and fast-paced, so it's really easy to binge. It's also a mixed media book, so you're gonna get documents based on this 90s horror movie that is supposed to be cursed. So it was a lot of fun for me. And if you like books about, you know, cursed movies, cursed videos, you should check this one out. Next, I have 2 Minutes with the Devil by Matt Michelli. And to keep it short, I want to read everything else this author has written because I absolutely love this. This is an example of a well-executed novella. It's short, it's intense, and it packs a punch, and it was everything that I wanted. This is a story about a small town, and evil lurks in to take their children. This is a great summer horror story about the challenges of coming of age, you know, and growing up, and all mixed together with horror. The kids play this game called 2 Minutes with the Devil, and as you can assume, things don't really go very well. I definitely recommend you this, guys. I absolutely loved it. I wish it would have been longer because I devoured this in one sitting. I loved it so much. So yeah, this is one that I'm definitely gonna reread at some point. Next, we have Getting Away with Murder by Catherine Foxfield, and I uploaded my review not long ago, so I'm gonna keep it short. I had a blast with this one. It follows a brand new high-tech company that offers the ultimate escape room experience. These rooms have been created to really be super immersive. The story is told from two twin sisters' perspective. We have Saffron and we have Georgia, which are very different from each other. Saffron is more like adventurous and spontaneous, and Georgia loves to plan and stick to the rules. So Saffron is working for this company, for the escape room company, and she is a horror buff as well, and she's always wondered who would survive a horror movie from all of those stereotypical cliche characters, you know, the weird one, the pretty one, the joke, the geek, and all of that. And the artificial intelligence called Lightman that controls the games decides to actually test it. So this artificial intelligence sends invitations to a couple of people to play the games before everybody else, and one of the players is going to be Saffron's sister Georgia. Now, when the players get to the escape rooms, they soon realize that this was not actually planned and that they are in real danger. I love to see how this book touched in so many interesting topics, like how we judge people based on the way they look or the things they like, and we like to put them in a box. We like to, you know, stereotype them. And I love that the book broke those stereotypes and made us see that the characters are a lot more than the names that we give them. The escape rooms are in a 1950s bunker, which helps a lot with the atmosphere, and they were a lot of fun. The characters having to go through these escape rooms and the escape rooms being so dangerous and so different from each other, it was so much fun. And this book is violent. I love to see that, and I can tell you that sadly not everybody that enters those escape rooms is gonna make it out alive. It kind of has Saw vibes because the characters don't really want to play these escape rooms, but they don't have any other choice. They have to go through the rooms if they want to make it out alive. If you're looking for a good YA horror thriller, this is one that you need to pick up this year. This has been so far one of my favorites this year. Then we have The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and I also have a spoiler-free review of these, and I've talked so much about this book that I will only tell you I absolutely love it. It is full of twists and turns to the story. I loved the main characters so much. When Lenora was a teenager, her whole family was brutally murdered in the family house, and now she's the only one that is left. She was at the time a suspect in the murders, but she was never charged. And she has been living in, solitude in the mansion. And now she is a 70-year-old woman. She's very sick and she needs a little bit of assistance. So that is where our next main character comes in. And that is Kit. She is a caregiver and she gets the job to go and take care of Lenora. And she knows, of course, of Lenora's past and all the rumors that she might have been the one that murdered her family. I love to see the relationship between the two women and how Lenora is kind of willing to tell Kit her story and the truth about what happened the night of the murders. And the book is slowly revealing things that happened, slowly mentioning this and that character. And the book was so engaging. It is a really, really good murder mystery and it's really gonna keep you guessing. And the book has so many unexpected twists and turns, like you're gonna gag. If you were considering picking this one up or not because maybe other Riley Sager books didn't work so well for you, especially The House Across the Lake, I say give it a chance, especially if you love those kind of gothic horror stories with a lot of atmosphere, with family secrets and all of that. This is gonna be perfect for you. This one is gonna be up there on my favorites by him, to be honest. I did love this one a lot more than The House Across the Lake. And I'm really happy to see that so many people are also loving this one. I also think this is another interesting take on the same classic story of The Turn of the Screw, but instead of having a nanny and children, you have a caregiver and an elderly woman. So it is spooky in different ways, but you also have that feeling of something is going on in the house. There's some spooky vibe to it, some kind of unsettling atmosphere that worked really well. So definitely pick this one up if you love those type of stories. And that is, you guys, everything that I managed to read in the month of July. I am quite pleased with all of the things that I was able to read. Unfortunately, there were quite some disappointments this month, but it is all okay. And somehow I ended up reading a lot of books, either similar to The Turn of the Screw or based in summer camps. That has been kind of my theme, hence my t-shirt today. But let me know down below what you guys thought about these books. Have you read them? And what is the best book that you read in the month of July? Thank you guys, as always, so much for watching, and I hope to see you all, as always, in our next coffee time. Bye!